Koda. Okay. Well, it looks like Koda wants to make an appearance for the video today. Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to the channel where I share my financial journey to debt freedom. Today is part 4 of my Living Alone on a Budget series, where we are doing my debt strategy. And this is specifically for me to be debt-free by 2026. So the first thing I want to do is go over my debt journey timeline. And for those new to the channel, I started my debt-free journey in June 2023, which was last year at the time of this video. So I had 3 consumer debts, and then I also had these 2 debts here, and this is actually a student loan. And then I also had my Nelnet loans. And in 2023, I paid off Affirm 5, 6, and 7, as well as this other loan here, and then I just had these 2 remaining. And then for my new debts between December 2023 and last month, July 2024, I had a couple of new debts that got added. So the first one is this family debt, which I already talked about in part 1 of this series, the financial overview. So be sure to check that out if you want a little bit more context. But I did pay that off in April of this year. But just last month in July, I took out another loan/payment plan for my couch. And then, of course, I still have all of the remaining debts here that I had not paid off in 2023. And now we have my current debts. I forgot to change the dates here. So this is actually going to be July 2024 to the present. And I have 3 sets of loans left. So I have WF, which is the same one from here in the beginning. But the reason that I said technically is because this will be paid off next month. And I'm so excited to have that done. And then the couch loan that I just talked about, and then also my Nelnet loans. Now you'll notice that my starting debts here for Nelnet was 6 and now it's 5. And I shared this update in the last part of the series, the savings plan, and I explained that this WF loan was actually a part of Nelnet. And so I was double counting, and so was Nelnet, by saying that I had 6 loans, but I actually only have 5. So that saved me about $2,000 in terms of what I actually owe Nelnet. So that's great. But this is what my current situation is. And I'll just zoom out again so you all can see the timeline of everything. Before we move on, actually, I want to talk about the payment strategies that I was using for each of these. So for 2023, my biggest method was the snowball. And then for early this year, 2024, it was the priority. And what I mean by priority is I just focused on the debt that was most important to me at that time. If you want more information about this whole situation, be sure to check out part 1 of the series. And then for my current, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but my current method is the avalanche. And the reason I wanted to show you all the different methods here is to show you that you don't have to stick to one particular payment strategy when you're paying off debt. You can be as dynamic as you absolutely need to. Okay, now I want to talk about why I want to be debt-free by 2026. And I kind of have this unofficial rule of 3 going on here. Now that I'm looking at it, that really doesn't even look like a 3. Let me see if I can draw over it. Yeah, that looks really tacky, but it's okay. So in 2026, I'll be 30 years old, which is the entrance to a new decade of my life. Super excited about that. I also have to stay at my job for 3 years in order to be fully vested in my 401k. So at that point, I can start exploring a new career or whatever the case may be, and I'll have more flexibility there. And then also, considering that I started my debt-free journey in 2023 when I was 27 years old, there would be a 3-year debt-free journey if I was able to be debt-free in 2026. And while we're talking about why I'm so excited about 2026, I also wanted to share a brief snapshot of my situation. So December 2026 is the deadline that I'm setting for myself, and that is 2 years and 4 months from now, which is 28 months from today in August. I currently have a total debt balance of $15,591.35. if we take the $15,591.35 and divide it by the 28 months, so that's $556.84 that I would need to pay on average towards my debt in order to make this goal a reality. But the whole purpose of today's video is to see if this timeline is actually viable. So now we're going to get into the actual debt details. I talked about this in part 1 where I just did my debt overview, but of course a couple of things have changed, and I wanted to just give you all some of the details of my current debts, and I am going to list these in the order in which I would like to pay them. So we have WF, the balance is $273.36. The minimum payment right now is $136.78, and there's a 0% interest rate. And then I have Affirm 8, and I'll talk a little bit more about Affirm later. But for now, we're just going to go with the current loan amount, which is $2,846.09. And that's a minimum payment of $60.56. And we're just going to round up and say this is a 30% interest rate. And then I have all of my no-net loans, starting with the first one. This one is $3,163.47. No minimum payment right now because these are all paused. And this one is an interest rate of 5.05. And then I have the second no net loan, which is $2,253.62. Okay, I was actually reading this wrong. This one is actually 4.66 and this one is 4.5. And then we have the third no net loan. This one is $1,003.72 with an interest rate of 4.53, same as the last one. And then I have the fourth no net loan, which has a balance of $2,993.95 with an interest rate of 4.45. And then the last no net loan, this one is $3,057.14 with an interest rate of 3.76. And then, like I said up top, I should have created one more row here, but that's okay. My total debts is $15,591.35. So these are all my debts and their amounts. I am taking advantage of the fact that none of my no-net loans have minimum payments due right now, and I'm really going to be focusing on the Affirm loan. I'll go ahead and note right here that I'm going to be doing the avalanche method, and that's why I listed the debts the way that I did, because I'll be paying off my debts in order of highest interest rate to the lowest one. And now that we have all of my debt details out of the way, let's get into my debt payoff plan. I decided to create a table this time to make it a little bit more visually appealing than the hand-drawn one that I did in the savings plan video. But we're still going to be following the same concept, so let's get into it. So we are currently in August 2024. And like I said up top, my goal is to completely pay off WF because it only has a little under $300 left. So we're going to focus on doing that between August and September, which is next month. I guess we'll just put how much I'm putting towards that a month, which is $136.70 until payoff. And then in October, the only minimum required monthly payments that I'll have is for Affirm, and that is going to be $60.56 a month. And outside of this minimum monthly payment that I'll have here for Affirm, I'm going to hold on any extra debt payments. I talked about this in the savings plan video, but between now, August, and the end of this year, which would be December, I'm going to be building my $1,000 emergency fund. So since that's going to be my number one goal, I'm not going to put anything extra towards debt. And we're just going to be focusing on the minimum just for October through December, which is 3 months. Here we're going to be in January 2025, the new year. And what we're going to do here is still focus on Affirm because this is the debt with the highest interest rate. And in addition to the 6056 minimum payment, we're also going to put $214.78 extra. And the way that I got this specific number is what we talked about in the last video with my monthly margin. This is how much I can afford to put towards my debt each month on top of my minimum payments. I'm actually going to rewrite this in smaller text because I'm going to need a little bit more room for what I'm about to explain. So my principal balance is $1,606.44, and then Affirm calculates your estimated interest and adds that to your portal, which gives me the total of $2846.09, which we just went over in the debt details. And since I want to pay off Affirm early, I'm not going to calculate the payoff plan based on what they're expecting me to pay. I'm going to do it based on the principal balance, because the earlier you pay, the less that you have to pay in interest. And since I'm having to do these calculations myself, these are just estimations. I could end up paying more than the $1,606 even if I do pay it off early, but I'm just trying to create a plan on the best case scenario. So what I'm going to do is add these two payments up here, which is the minimum payment and the extra. And this gives us a total of, got to pull up the calculator, $75.34 total that I can put towards Affirm starting January 2025. And then to see how many months it's going to take me to pay off, I'm going to take the principal balance. Again, this is just an estimation / best case scenario, divided by the total I can put towards Affirm each month, which is $275.34. And that gives me approximately 6 months. And then 6 months, including January, that I can pay this off. That's going to put us around June 2025. And if I do end up paying more than this $1,606, this will probably push me to July or August. But obviously, we're trying to work with the best case scenario if everything goes according to plan. So from July to September, which again is going to be 3 months, I'm going to hold on my extra debt payments again. And the reason why I'm holding is because my birthday is in August, and I don't want to not celebrate my birthday just because I'm on my debt journey. And at this point, if we go back to my timeline, I have been paying off debt pretty aggressively over the past year. And then from now to December, I'm going to be focusing on saving. So I just want to have a little bit of a break so that I don't have any financial burnout. And I'm just going to take those 3 months to save up for whatever my birthday plans are. And I don't plan to spend a lot of money for my birthday anyways, but I'm still just going to say that any extra money is just going to go into savings in preparation for October 2025, which is when my nil net student loans resume. And so any extra money that goes into savings, specifically into my high yield savings accounts, once my payments resume in October, I would just take any money that's in here and put it towards my student loans, because I might be able to earn some interest in my savings accounts for the month or two that it's in there. And that's a little extra money that I can put towards my student loans. And once my student loans resume, we're going to take the $60.56 that I was putting towards Affirm, as well as my extra monthly margin of $214.78, which gives us $275.34 that I can put towards this debt each month. Now, I should specify that this includes whatever minimum payments they require of me starting in October. I just don't know what the amount is going to be. I'll say maybe 100 of that will be minimum. And at this point in October 2025, I should have wrote this a little bit smaller. My total debt balance, or my total no net balance, will be $12,471.90. And we're going to kind of do the same method that we just did up here with the Affirm. So I'm going to take the 12,471.90 divided by the 275.34 that I can put towards it. And this is saying I'll be able to pay it off in 45 months, which puts me in July 2029. I want to have this paid off 15 months from October 2025, which would put me at December 2026. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to put $831.46 a month towards my Nelnet student loans in order to be debt-free by December 2026. And my current monthly expenses are just about the lowest that they can be. So my only other option is to just make more money. So I'll have another section here called extra income. And the extra income that I'm trying to get is going to be YouTube. I do believe I'll be monetized at the end of this year. And then I also have my online shop where I sell my financial templates. I'm also potentially considering becoming a Monarch Money advisor because I do know a lot about Monarch Money, and I also have sessions that I do for people that need extra help. So that'll be another source of income. And then as a very, very last resort, I might get back into freelancing graphic design. I had been doing it for so long and I just kind of got burnt out, but I'm willing to get back into it if it means that I can be debt-free by end of December 2026. I created a few too many rows in the table, but let's just do a recap starting from the beginning. So we are currently in August 2024, and between now and next month, I'm going to pay off WF. And then starting in October to December, I'm going to focus on my emergency fund savings. And so that means I'll only be doing the minimum towards my Affirm payments here. And then starting January 2025, I'll be paying the minimum payments to Affirm as well as extra. And that'll be $275.34. And we're going to try to pay the least amount of interest as possible by paying it off early. So according to that estimation, I should have this paid off by June. Then from July to September, which is another 3-month period, we're going to hold my extra debt payments again and really just focus on my birthday and potentially building up some savings. Anything extra in the savings will go to a high yield savings account, earn some interest. And then October 2025, my Nelnet student loan payments will resume. Anything earned in the high yield savings account will go towards the student loan payments so that I can reduce my overall balance. So then I'll take the $275.34 that I was putting towards Affirm and put that towards my Nelnet payments. I'll continue to do that until December 2026. And although the estimated payment plan is a little bit off, I plan to make up for the extra money that I would need to put towards my debt and get that from extra income like my YouTube channel, my online shop, Monarch Money, and potentially freelance graphic design. So that's it for today's video on my debt strategy. So we can consider this done. And then in my next video, I'll be talking about my meal planning on a budget, of course, and taking you through step by step how I maximize the food I already have in my kitchen, how I plan the meals, and how I save money while grocery shopping. If you have any questions about my timeline or my debts or my payoff strategy, please do let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.